One here on the agenda is a public agenda is the morning hockey training group request.
10-second segue, that is the
And we'll let
director's.
Councillor Arsenault
Yeah.
come back in.
That matter is Director Walsh's, and I'll just advise it's here because as he pointed out in his the policy says that the director can tell groups whether they're part of the defined list of groups that get subsidized ice time, but he has no power to approve or disapprove additions to the list. The policy currently reads that as council's bailiwick, and that's why it's here and not been handled by staff. I'll let Jason explain what.
Sure, I guess as per in your package, you'll see the attached request that we received from the morning training group. For the most part, it's a request for subsidized ice time rates from a group of about 10 athletes that represent probably 3 or 4 different user groups and are using the ice time for additional ice times beyond their program for training. Last year in the past, they were members of Miramichi Minor Hockey and were able to get the ice rate at the subsidized ice rate as Miramichi Minor Hockey put it as part of their programming. This year it was identified that it wasn't part of Miramichi Minor Hockey. They weren't members of Miramichi Minor Hockey. And the ice time was returned by Miramichi Minor Hockey, and the group rented it under the assumption of as a private rental. They've gotten insurance. They're using the ice time. I guess the request came for subsidized ice because they were looking to see if they could get a discount in their ice rates to pass that savings on to the 10 parents and families that are using this ice time. So just want to bring that to light to council. So it's somebody looking for a subsidy. Whether or not they actually meet the subsidy policy would be the question. If anyone has any questions, feel free. I guess at this point we'd probably be, if anyone is interested in wanting to subsidize this group, we'd probably be asking for a motion to move it up to council for a decision. Thanks.
Thanks, Director Walsh. Open the floor to members of council. Councillor Summers.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess if I'm reading between the lines there, Director Walsh, I see our conclusion, I see the whole report, and I get the gist of it, but I don't necessarily see your recommendation. But if I was to put you on the spot, it sounds like a recommendation would be to not approve this. Am I right?
Through the chair to Councillor Summers, that would be my recommendation. Reason being is I think that if this goes through, it opens the door to almost any group that's not getting subsidized ice to find a way to be able to not pay full rent. So I would be cautious if I was to approve this. Thanks.
You, Councillor Summers.
I believe I'm inclined to agree there, Director Walsh. And I mean, if I'm reading this policy correctly, these are the groups that we've identified fit the bill, so to speak, for subsidized ice. And to your point, if we open up, I don't know if can of worms is the right analogy, but there could be more and more of these groups coming our way and affecting our bottom dollar. Is that correct?
That is what I would expect, yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Following along Councillor Summers' question, Director Walsh, just trying to understand, are we staffed at this particular point in time when these folks want the ice? Because it would seem counterintuitive to have staff there and no one on the ice as opposed to staff there and someone on the ice. Or could you better use this ice, I guess, would be another question.
Through the chair to Councillor Quinn, as I believe most council is aware, we've had a lot of requests this year. Our schedules in regards to our arenas are built around the requests that we receive. So long story short is if this group decided that they did not want to go for the privatized ice time, there's a good chance that we may be able to reschedule our staffing. But I guess, are we staffed for groups? Typically the rink can be staffed from 6 o'clock in the morning to almost midnight or longer than that. Just there's going to be an added cost to us to be able to staff it. It's not so much the staffing piece that I'd be worried about. It's the Like, as Councillor Summers would have mentioned, it's the bottom line in regards to who's paying full rate and who's not paying full rate. With the full rate pay, it helps cover some of any extra overtime costs that we might incur based on opening beyond a 16-hour workday. We do have some subsidized groups that are using early morning ice times. I don't necessarily think that I know that in the letter it mentions about it being dead time. I don't think that it being dead time is a good reason for us to be able to subsidize a user group because of it. We would possibly save on not having the arena open, or also offering it up to other groups who are renting it under the same circumstance right now as a private ice rental at a private rental rate. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, Your Worship, if I may.
Still to you, yes, Councillor.
Yeah,
Deputy.
and also Director Walsh, and again, not to, I'm not calling you out here or anything, but if it is your recommendation to not proceed down this road, then I might recommend that you put it in the report for us, just matter of factly.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Quinn, I believe I did put into the conclusion that I would consider this a private ice rental. I think that was in my conclusion. Not
Okay.
necessarily a recommendation, but I do believe I put it into the report.
Okay, I may have misread that.
Yeah, I think it's maybe just to specifically state that your recommendation on the request. But, like, you could extrapolate it, but I guess it could be stated more directly, to be fair, but point taken. I do have one question from the chair, Director Walsh. Just to clarify, so if I'm understanding correctly, this group was doing the same thing last year as well, but last year they were formally considered part of Miramichi Minor Hockey, and this year they are not. Can you just explain why they are no longer considered part of Miramichi Minor Hockey?
Sure. To the mayor. So last year, many of the members that were renting this ice, the ice was actually rented under the through the Miramichi Minor Hockey Club for skill sessions.
Okay.
And many of the members were members of Miramichi Minor Hockey. Now the members have since moved on to whether it's the U13, U14, or U15 teams, and are not part of Miramichi Minor Hockey and would not fall underneath Miramichi Minor Hockey's subsidy program. They'd be a separate entity.
Okay, so it does seem very specific, and it's not my world admittedly, but in the list of people who are approved for ice subsidy, that U13 and U15 Riverman is listed as one of the subsidized groups. So if you're saying they went from Miramichi Minor Hockey to another group that's still a subsidized group, I guess I'm just confused is all.
I'll add to it. So at the start of the season, we request ice times for all of our user groups. They submit their user group request to carry out their regular practice times and regular game times, or any other ice times that they request. None of these ice times were requested from any of those user groups. It's a group of individuals that play on individual teams using extra ice time.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I appreciate it. I guess in that, I'm inclined to agree with your interpretation. And I guess my solution for them, if I had one, was if you could go back under the umbrella of an existing approved user group, then you would qualify for the subsidized rate. But if you're not if you're not actually affiliated with one of the groups, then it is a private rental, right? So I'm just reaffirming, I'm agreeing with you, I guess. But I'm saying to them, if they were under an umbrella before and they wanted subsidized ice, to me, we can't give that subsidized ice to a private group. But if you went back with an affiliated group that gets subsidized ice, well, then you would qualify for it. And that's how I would see it personally.
The director and I had a discussion on this, and the idea was to make sure that those that are allotted subsidized ice time use it for their true stuff, not to say, hey, I get extra ice time at 50% off, and just offer it to whoever. It's to make sure they're sincerely part of those user groups. And so in this case, the understanding was they were sincerely part of that user group last year, but it's not organized or sincerely part of one. So that's sort of where we are.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's any other questions or information required by members of council. If not, I guess we'll ask for a motion to move this up so it can be voted on. Deputy Mayor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Summers. On the question, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.